Afternoon. Glad you're all well rested. Another session is in the books. First, let me make sure for those of you who may not know, the people who are here, Melissa DeRosa to my right, Madam Secretary, first female secretary in the history of the state of New York. Alfonso David, Counsel to the Governor, Robert Mujica, Director of the Budget. Another session is in the books, and I am very pleased with the session overall and what we got done. The first part of the legislative session is consumed with the state budget. More and more, the state budget has become the comprehensive plan for the state for the year. And we do more and more work in the budget. When I was doing the budget this year with the legislative leaders, we would actually comment about there's going to be nothing left to do after we do the budget, because virtually all the main issues that we could agree on, we did in the state budget. And it was all across the spectrum. Raise the age, college affordability, middle class tax cut, Uber and Lyft upstate. So it was really, did a lot of work, the budget. Post-budget, the number of issues were done, but again, most of the big work had been done in the budget. But post-budget, we did 150 Senate confirmations for very important positions all across the state. We have a new chairman of the MTA. That is very important. I'm excited about Joe Loda. I worked with Joe Loda several years ago during the time of Hurricane Sandy. And that was a time that really tested competence and mettle of a person. So he was extraordinary, and I'm very pleased that he's coming back. We have more work to do on the MTA. We need majority control. We need additional funding, but his leadership is going to be a big boost. I'm very excited about Judge Feinman, and I want to thank the Senate for moving as quickly as they did. We had a terrible vacancy on the Court of Appeals, and as you know, the Court of Appeals is our highest court, and we had a tragic loss of a great judge. But it was important to the court that we filled that vacancy, and the entire timeline was expedited, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the selection committee moving as quickly as they did. I appreciate the Senate going through the confirmation process as quickly as they did, and we have a really, really great judge. So I'm excited about that. We passed Buy America. We passed a child marriage law. I don't think anyone knew that you could get married at 14 years old. You can't buy a pack of cigarettes, but you can make a marital decision at 14. I advocated that you shouldn't be able to make a marital decision until you were 47, but I lost that, and it wound up at 17 and 18, 17 with consent. So a lot of good work was done early in the session and then later at the session. Still more to do, as I mentioned. On the MTA, which is a major topic in New York City, someone has to be in control of an organization, and I've asked the legislature to give me majority control of the board. Working majority, it comes down to math. There are 14 members. A majority is a majority. We now have 6. We also need more funding at the MTA. The fundamental problem at the MTA is, as every expert attests, it's been underfunded for 40 years. Why? Because maintenance is always the first thing to cut. It's not glamorous. We won't do it this year, we'll do it next year. Infrastructure. I should come up with a better word. Invest in infrastructure. Nobody wants to invest in infrastructure. It's very expensive. It takes a very long time to make a difference. Yeah, well, you ignore it for 40 years, and you're where Penn Station is. To a lesser degree, you are where the MTA is. Now, I'm proud of what the state did last year in the largest capital plan in history, but we need additional funding from the other entities. We need New York City to contribute more, both in capital money and in operating money. You know, there is no reason why New York State should be spending double for the MTA, contributing double what New York City is. And again, there's capital expenses, which is a long-term capital plan, and then the annual operating expenses. The state pays about $4 billion. The city pays about $2 billion in operating expenses. And on the capital budget, we put in about $4 billion. The city, $8 billion. The city put in $2.5 billion. Under Mayor Bloomberg, several years ago, they put in $2.8 billion. So the MTA, and that is not going to solve itself. So that's a matter that the legislature should attend to. The Child Victims Act, I believe, should be passed. And I believe it's unfortunate that that was not done. We still haven't passed a comprehensive ethics package that I think could make a fundamental difference. I propose to the legislature, I would support a pay raise proposal with an ethics reform package, and I think the people of the state would also. They understand that inflation has happened over the past 18 years or whatever it is since the last time since the legislature received the raise, but they want ethics reform. And that was a lost opportunity also. Comprehensive design build legislation we failed to get. We are doing more construction than any administration in modern political history. Because of what's happening at Penn Station, we even had to accelerate it more. And design build is just a much better way to build. It saves money, it's faster, it's better. I sought additional authority under design build, and that failed. We also have not passed the tax extenders, what they call sales tax extenders, which is fairly administrative, but it has to be done. And that's something the legislature is going to have to do later on. So there are always some things that you didn't get to, and there are always some things that you don't have an agreement on. I think it's fair to say we got to every issue. We addressed every issue. We just don't have agreement on every issue. But that's what makes ball games, and that's what makes politics. So I'll stop there, and any questions you have?